morning, Lorraine.
Well, good morning to you.
Yes, a beautiful morning in the month of May. Can you believe it?
I know, but I didn't think it was going to be so wonderful because the men are cleaning the side of the building, and they have a blast of water, and I took the outside way. But I did walk through the grass, so
did you?
avoided
You didn't
the
feel
whole
the spray?
thing. No.
I understand they're winterizing the bricks.
Oh, is that
I
I see.
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful.
So there'll be no leaks
Good.
from the snow, etc. Yes, you live in Regina, and you've been on campus for how many months now?
Oh, about 7 months.
Coming from
Eagle Point, Oregon.
Lorraine Brennan from Oregon. Who would have thought? Because when I knew you, you had just come from a little town in
Avoca.
Michigan.
That's right.
Say the name again.
Avoca.
Yes.
And there is a place, well, in Ireland, there is the town of Avoca, but there's also the meeting of the waters.
That's what the name means,
Right.
Avoca.
Right.
And where did you learn that?
Well, when I met Mother Gerald, she was excited because I was from Avoca, and she remembered in Ireland the meeting of the waters. And so I was with Marie George, and she loved it too. And I thought we were going to fall right into the
So you
waters.
went to see the meeting of the waters in
Right.
Ireland with your aunt,
Right.
Sister Marie George
Right.
Brennan. Yes. So Avoca is near what town? So we can.
Well,
get
Avoca, it's near Yale, but that's not going to help. It's near Port Huron. It's
in that
about
area.
18 miles.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I always thought that Sister Marie George was from Emmett.
right.
Is that right? Mhm.
That's correct. Emmett was a Catholic town, and Avoca was non-Catholic. And but Dad went to both places. I mean, he did business in both places. In fact, he was elected to the board. The town
City
had,
council.
Yeah, yeah, and so. He was well known, of course, the Brennans, because there were so many. I mean, that's about it. Relatives and neighbors that knew you, so.
So your what shall we say? Your foremothers and fathers came from Ireland, probably by way of Canada, I would imagine.
Correct, yes. And
Was safer that way, or?
it was. Going through Ellis Island was horrendous, and so they came through Canada, settled in Smith Falls, and Marie George and I went there to find the family, and they said all the records were in Bellevue, Canada. And so we went there and spent about a day and a half looking for the Brennans. And we did find them.
Their entrance.
Right.
Oh my, oh
Yeah.
my.
And then they came through Port Huron and down into to the Avoca and Emmett area. But the Brennans are mainly from Emmett.
Yes. Yeah. Besides Sister Marie George, you had another aunt in the congregation.
Right, Sister Hildegard.
Another Brennan.
Right, she was a delightful person.
And I presume they were sisters?
Yes,
Yes. I mean, blood sisters.
they were.
Oh my.
And we had a wonderful time when they would come home for home visits.
Oh my.
They would come on the train would stop, and all the townspeople were there. It was just a big celebration.
And here they step off the train in their white
Yes.
habits. It's
Yes.
like angels appearing.
It was like a celebrity had just arrived.
Was the town band there also playing?
Well, no, we
No.
didn't have a band, but everybody was very happy.
So other than your aunts being Adrian Dominicans, did you have them in school?
I had the IHMs in school, and there were 5 of them, and it was crazy because we had from 1st to 10th grade, and so we had, of course, combinations, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, yeah. And
So where did you go to high school then after 10th?
well, I went to St. Augustine with my sister Eleanor, and she could drive. And so we went there until she graduated from St. Augustine, and then we went to Yale High School because we didn't have transportation to St. Augustine. But that was a long drive to St. Augustine. It was.
So when you came to Adrian to enter, you came to a much larger city, didn't you?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
But not too much larger. Well, of course, our town. Back in the ancient days, they had a doctor was in Avoca, and they had a blacksmith shop and a bank and all this. So, because I remember when my uncle was haying, and he was sharpening the blades of the cutter, for the hay, and he cut off his fingers. And so my grandfather must have torn his shirt or something and wrapped the fingers and took them to Avoca, and they were fine.
Oh my.
Of course, he had a lot, he
Yeah,
had to take care of
stitch 'em,
them, of
yeah.
course, yes.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Wow.
so even though they were country doctors, they were, very efficient.
And skilled. Yeah. Yes. So, what did your parents feel about your entering?
Well, they were happy. I mean, because we had religious in the family, so it was, it was no shock to them. And
So, was it Sister Hildegard or Sister Marie George that brought you here?
well, Hildegard,
Yeah.
I remember them coming over. They were on a home visit, and they were at their old homestead, and then they came over. And so Hildegard and I went for a walk in our orchard, and we, talked. And
That was it.
Yep,
That was it. And here you are.
here I am.
And you
right?
left how many brothers and sisters behind?
Well, 4 brothers and 3 sisters.
Oh my.
And, it was during the time of the war, and everybody, was leaving. So,
So most of your brothers served in
correct.
the war.
Yeah, they all did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did any of them lose their life?
No, they all came home, which was really
Yeah.
great. Well, Gene was in a situation where he was on the Wasp, and there were 2 ships, and it was foggy, and the Wasp and the Hornet collided.
Mm-hmm.
And so a few men lost their lives.
That was
there.
on a ship.
Right, out
Yeah.
in the ocean there.
Yeah. Oh my. And are any of them living today?
Just my brother Chuck.
Oh my.
Yeah, and he served in Germany in Stuttgart, and he enjoyed it very much. And he said that, his name was Brennan, and so when Kennedy came to Germany, the captain said, "Hey Brennan, would you like to go see Kennedy?" And so, oh yeah. So he traveled when he was over in Germany and liked it very much.
And he lives now in Avoca?
Yes, he
Oh,
lives
my.
on the old homestead.
Oh,
yeah,
how wonderful.
with his daughter and son-in-law, and they are so great. He's lucky that he has them. It's company for them and him. And well, every morning he goes up to the coffee shop, to be with his buddies, and they usually are in Port Huron or Yale or Emmett. They meet someplace.
It's delightful.
Yeah, it is, because it gives him, he socializes every day, so it's good for him.
Well, you came here from the Northwest at this point in your life, so that's there's quite a few miles between Avoca and
Eagle Point. Yeah.
Eagle Point.
A few miles, right.
Yes. So did you stop anywhere along the line in other parts of the United States?
You mean coming to Adrian or during
No,
lifetime?
during your lifetime, yes.
Oh, well, I first started out in Calabanas, and I was there for about 6 years.
In Chicago.
You're right, And then I went to Maywood, and that was a delightful place. And I stayed there I stayed most places for 6. And then I went...
Who was your principal at Maywood?
It was Elizabeth Lynch, John Annette at the time, yeah. And just a wonderful person.
And a fun time in
Yeah,
that convent.
yes.
Yes, I bet, with Liz. Yeah.
Yes, she had an aunt that had a cottage on Lake Michigan, yeah, and so we would go there, and we'd have just loads of fun.
So that's Chicago. In fact, you know, most of the sisters that entered from Michigan, their first mission was in Chicago.
Right.
But you
yeah.
didn't stay there.
No, then after that I went to Mundelein, and that's Sister Barbara's hometown. But
Sister Barbara Herr?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And but I didn't have any of her relatives.
Mm-hmm.
I think I taught 3rd grade, and most of them, well, Kurt, I think, was the youngest of the Herr family, and he was in 6th grade at the time. So, and then from there I went to North Dakota, and
Oh my.
then I went to St. Raphael's
In
Los Angeles,
Los Angeles.
and that was a real experience.
Before we go to St. Raphael's, I remember you telling me that in your first experience teaching, you had kindergarten.
Right,
And you had 60
right,
children
right.
in the morning.
60 in the morning and 60 in the afternoon.
How did you do it?
Well, Paul Kathleen was the kindergarten teacher, and so I followed her around and wrote everything she did, practically everything she said too. And so from then on, you know,
Oh my.
that was it. Yeah.
Did you have groups? Like
Oh,
group reading?
Well, see, it was kindergarten, so we had, we had numbers and the ABCs and religion and, and of course, bathroom time and,
Oh, my.
and going home. It was an experience.
Oh, getting them dressed. you mean?
Right, yeah, and in the wintertime, it was just, it took them so long. It was like half the morning to take off their snow things, boots, and then they went to the bathroom and practically went home.
No aides to help you.
No.
Well,
At
you
that day and
deserve
age, we didn't.
a crown just for that experience alone. You probably thought that was just the norm.
Well, yes, I didn't know any better.
Oh my! Well, that was a good experience to start you on your teaching profession
Right.
anyway.
Yeah,
Yes,
and I had good friends there. The nuns were great.
Well, you'd
They're
need
in the same boat as I, so it didn't
with large
matter.
large classes.
Right.
Oh my! So now we're in Los Angeles.
Right.
Were you there at the time of the riots?
Well, it was right about the end of the riots, but
You felt the
yeah,
residue of it all.
absolutely. It got to a point that when you came to a stoplight, you didn't stop. You just kind of rolled through. I mean, you wouldn't stop because you never knew,
Who was going to
what was
carjack
gonna
you.
happen.
Yeah.
Right.
But how was it in the classroom?
It was great, I mean, the kids came to school and we did everything, except the one time when the students were being robbed of their lunch money.
On the way to school, you mean?
Right, yes, and so I thought, I'll go help them. But
You went after the robbers.
Yeah, right, but it didn't work, so, but we had, the police were around, so they took care of itself.
Oh, my. Oh, my. So did you have first grade there?
Yes, I did.
So now you're a pro.
Right.
Did you ever take them on field trips?
Well, yes, we did. We took them to a house, a neighbor house that she had a nativity scene that she wanted us to see. Her son was in first grade, and so I said, well, okay, it was getting to be like January, and she, that her whole house was taken with this Christmas scene, so I thought, we better get over there. So we had 8 lanes of traffic to stop. And
About how many children were you leading across the street?
it must have been 30. At that time, we had about that
Oh, my
in
heavens.
first grade.
So you could stop all the traffic.
Yes, but they never, the people didn't mind. They didn't toot their horn or yell at us or anything like that. So we got across the street, went into the house, and then coming back out, I was first, of course, and I looked out and I see all these geese. And I remember my grandmother's geese, they would fly at you and peck you. And I thought, oh my gosh. And so I said, let's go back in. And of course, all the kids, ran into the house. And then,
Did they see the
oh,
geese?
they saw the, yes. And so I said, okay, now we just have to calm ourselves. And so then Mrs. D'Artola got the geese out of the way, and we were able to go on our way
Go back over
through the 8 lanes of traffic.
Oh, my.
But I did take them for a train ride too, which was that was very nice.
They probably had never been on that.
No, it was great. It wasn't very far. I think it was from station to station, but they loved it, and it was fun.
Well, you were there many years, were you not?
Yes, I was there. It was about 15 years. Yeah.
And what caused you to leave?
Oh, well, it was getting, a little dangerous, and the convent was not very secure. You could just kind of push the front door in without any problem. And we had, of course, glass doors, because it was built back in probably, I don't know when it was built, but...
It was an older house.
Yeah, and then we had like a balcony,
Oh.
Yeah, plus glass
Easy
doors.
access.
Right, yes. And so Eileen Hussey said she thought it was time for us to move, and so we said, we did too, because there was only, I think, 3 of us left. It was myself and Grace Gianella and Agnes Peplinski.
Did the school close?
No. No, in fact, the pastor thought he would get sisters to come in, so he went down south to get them. And so the superior and one other sister came, and they stayed in the convent, and they left their stuff, in the community room, and in the morning they didn't have it.
Oh, my.
And so they figure,
Someone
well, it's,
Yeah. Not safe.
no. And so the pastor said, when I saw that, I thought, oh, no, my chances are ruined. And so they didn't stay, they...
You must have been thrilled to be missioned from Chicago or from Illinois, I should say, to the West, no?
Yes. Well, I had family in the West, my brother and his 5 girls, and that was my brother Bill, and then my brother Jerry was in the West too, so...
Oh, great. In California?
No, Jerry was in Seattle, in Washington
But
area.
more accessible.
And Bill was down in Santa Cruz with the 5 girls.
Oh.
And so my dad and mom would take vacations, to Santa Cruz. They'd stay for a couple months, and so then I went down to see them. And I often thought, I should change first grade, have the first grade teacher come to Los Angeles. But we never pursued it. I don't know if they would have accepted that idea or not, but anyway.
Did you stay in California then once your chapter prioress, Eileen Hussey, said,
No,
let's go?
I went to Palm Springs. There was an article in a Catholic paper that they were looking for a reading teacher, and so I went there, and I was learning center person.
Oh, how nice. How nice.
So,
when you say Palm Springs, I think of Sonny Bono. Wasn't he the mayor?
Yes, he
or,
was.
Or
yes.
senator or something?
Yes, Sonny had wanted his children enrolled in at St. Teresa's, but Alice, the principal, said, we don't accept the students at such an early age. We don't. So he.
So went elsewhere.
Well, he knew. He just laughed because I think they were like 2 or 3 or something like that, and so. He just had to wait the same as anyone else, but he didn't make it, of course. He died in that skiing accident.
Oh, that's right. Quite young.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And was he Catholic?
He must have been, because they had the mass, his funeral mass and all the services at our church.
Oh my.
And
I bet there was a crowd.
Oh, the whole place, all the TVs were every place. It's just amazing. And policemen on horses.
And Cher.
Cher was there, and she gave the eulogy. And it was really, not too bad. We were, a little tense about it, but
You were
it
ready
all turned out
ready
right.
for her to break out in song.
Right, and all of Sonny's ex-wives were there.
Oh.
And, of course, the kids all wanted to know, who was Sonny's wife. And they 3 of them were standing in front of us. The school kids were able to take some time off. And we all stood around, and so the senators all came up and said hello. And Newt Gingrich shook my hand and and all of that.
Well, that's a nice memory.
Right,
So that
yeah.
was Palm Springs.
Right.
And once again, you had a long tenure.
Yes.
Yes. How
Yeah.
many years?
Well, it was about 15 years in Palm Springs, yeah. The principal was very nice. Well, we had some of our sisters were there too. Joan Murphy was there for a time, and I can't think of what her name is. Dorothy, I can't think of what the last name.
Okay.
But 2 of them. And when I first went there, it was just the BVMs, One Mercy, and myself.
Oh my! And when did you first live with Barb Herr?
It was back at Rayfield's. At St.
Really?
Rayfield's.
Was she the
right.
principal there?
Well, she was 1 year with Jane Celeste. And she and Jane were very good friends, and Jane was a wonderful principal. And so then after that, Jane left, and then Barbara became principal. But she stayed for 3 years. And then after she left, then I became principal.
Oh, at St. Rayfield's.
Right. And then Sister Eileen Hussey said, it's time to leave. So, yeah.
Well, and that wasn't the end of the story, was it?
No.
No. So what was your happiest, I shouldn't say happiest, it's hard to say which mission you liked.
Yes, because they all were fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Of course, you had to make your own fun, you know. We worked hard, but we also enjoyed what we did.
Well, as we bring this to a close, you were in Nevada, Las Vegas, California,
Colorado.
Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
in Grand Junction.
Right.
Grand Junction, a beautiful part of the country.
Oh, yes, it was.
Of all of those places, where would you like to go back if you were 20 years younger?
You know, it's hard to say. I like Palm Springs, I like Colorado, and, well, of course, Eagle Point, you know, that had the Rogue River and all the amenities. It had mountains and, you know, animals and the seasons. And now the winters were not harsh, but, you know, it was beautiful.
Beautiful.
And when they would have, well, the meteorite showers were clearer in Colorado. You could look out the window at night, and it was just like it was snowing out. It was so beautiful.
Oh, my.
But I had not ever seen that again. If you see a meteor shower, it would be, you have to look to see, you know, one here and one there, if you get to see them at all.
What about avalanches?
Well, yes, Barb and I took a Easter trip, and we went to Silverton, and that was Barbara's,
In Colorado?
right. And it was a very popular town, so we had not been there, and so I said, let's go, and she said, okay. So we traveled up to Ouray, and that's where the $1 Million Highway, and it's mountainous. So we went up the mountain, and so we had to stop because there was an avalanche. And but it was just on one side of the road, and so you had to go around to the other lane. And of course, there's a curve there, you know, so you'd take your life in your hands. But if you wanted to get going, that's what you did.
Were you driving?
Yes.
Oh, God bless you.
So we got over to Silverton, and the whole town was closed because it's winter time, you know. Well, I mean, it's winter,
So you
spring.
turned around?
And so we walked around the town, and I said, we better get back on the highway because it's going to get dark. And then, so we started out, and then, so we ran into a waterfalls with this water coming over the cliff. And it was just like a shower, you know. We got through that, and then the cars were stopped, and there was another avalanche, but that was a little more severe. It was on both sides of the road, so you couldn't get through. So we were parked on the side, and the ranger was coming along, and he was trying to move the cars, and so we were looking at him and thought, should we move up? And they said, oh, no, because here there's a big rock and bushes, so we'd be safe, you know. So, but the other cars wouldn't be. So anyway, finally, after, you know, a long time, they got the snow cleared, so we were able to go.
There were other people on the road, I hope,
Oh,
too,
yes,
so you
yes.
didn't feel stranded in any way.
Well, we
Yes.
thought it would be a great time to go because there wouldn't be that many people on the mountain road, you know.
Well, before we say goodbye, what legacy do you think Sister Marie George and Sister Hildegard left the congregation?
Well, I think it's a legacy of hard work, common sense, and fun. And if you have those three interwoven, you could master.
You have a happy life.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. I really appreciate that. And we have something in common. Your name, religious name, was?
Michael Eugene.
And mine was Margaret Eugene. And the kids called us
Sister Michael
Margaret
Blue
Jeans.
Yeah.